Meantime, let's get to this. After investing billions in their EV programs, U.S. automakers are scaling back. Uncertainty on the future of those EV tax credits are part of the problem, but also people just don't want EVs. Auto expert Mike Caudill joins us now. Okay, so this is when you start to add up what's happening in the auto industry and connect the dots. This seems bigger to me than just people don't want EVs. What's going on?
Yeah, so when you look at the entire auto industry as a whole, here's what's happening is the industry really wants to promote the positive stuff that's going down, right? There's all these great vehicles that you can buy in the market, but what the auto industry is not doing is they're not following what consumers want. And I've been saying this for 5 years. Electric vehicles are great. We were talking about this before we came on air. I've driven every one of them. They're fast, they're fun, they're cool. But the problem is consumers are afraid of the infrastructure. Where do you charge these? 38% of Americans live in homes. The others live in townhouses and apartments. Where do they charge, right?
If this is an industry that's in peril, what do you do or say about a reduction of the $7,500 EV tax credit? How much more does that hurt the industry?
It doesn't, and I'll tell you why. Okay. There are only 10 automakers that qualify for the $7,500, right? You got Tesla, Ford, Chrysler, just a couple vehicles mixed in there. There's more than 90 vehicles in the U.S. that you can buy that are all electric. So when you do away with the $7,500 tax credit, that's only predicated on the fact that a vehicle's fully built here in the U.S. So the others are all part of what they call the partial tax credit at $3,500, and most electric vehicles don't qualify for either of them. So doing away with it doesn't impact the industry.
This is the fault not of consumers, and it's not fear. People know when they go look at a vehicle, they know how far the stupid thing goes. I'm talking about electric vehicles. It is the Biden administration and the climate crusaders, the faceless climate crusaders in that administration, and the automakers that got on board lickety-split with these tailpipe emissions mandates because Biden and company were dangling tens of billions of dollars in basically no interest or low cost loans that these automakers could never get anywhere else. They got on board, and now what's going to happen is they're this close to going out of business. Rivian got a $6 billion loan at a time that it's losing more than $100,000 per vehicle that it makes. And there are literally a dozen other startups that are at risk of running out of cash by next summer.
Yeah.
The U.S. taxpayer is going to have to bail out not those companies, but maybe Ford and maybe GM and maybe the big guns.
So I'll tell you what I think is the positive in this, and that is the incoming president.
Amen.
Right? And I'll tell you why. Because when he takes office, he's going to loosen up the restrictions that are being put on automakers with the EPA mandates, right? He's going to loosen these restrictions, and that allows Jim Farley at Ford Motor Company, who I sat down with, and he said to me directly, look, we're going to start investing in hybrids as well. We're not going to deviate from electrics. We're going to give consumers choice. Even the president says, incoming president says we want to give consumers choice.
Which is what Toyota has been saying all along.
Akio Toyota has said it.
Yeah, they've been saying it for years.
They were lonely for a long time on that one.
Yeah.
But they've got to fight. Okay, but you got to fight California on this, right? Ultimately. And California's going into like Battle Fortress California with Newsom. Can the president effectively battle California and create more of the choice?
Yeah, so here's what I think is going to happen. So that's California Air Resources Board in California. There are now 6 states in 2025 that will jump on board going after long-haul truckers, so heavy-duty trucks, right, to reduce emissions. And the chassis makers that are responsible for building these vehicles now have to meet a mandate on a certain number of electric vehicles going into California. So here's what I think President Trump and your former counterpart, Sean Duffy, will look at from a transportation standpoint. I think that what they are going to do is that they'll be able to start withholding federal funds to the state of California as it applies to transportation until California decides how they want to do that, how they want to work this around. Now, I will just close with this really fast. The RV industry got lumped into this California Air Force, California Air Resources program in California. They're asking right now to be eliminated out of that process. It's horrible to think what could happen.
Rather than Trump-proof, it's going to be California-proof America.
There you go. Mike, awesome stuff. Really good analysis. Thanks for being here. Good to see you.
Meanwhile, let's get a quick check on some of these markets.